Hey guys, it's Hannah here, and today I am ranking the almost 10 palettes that I tried for the first time in 2023. If you're interested in seeing what palettes I tried this year for the first time and my thoughts on them, just keep watching. Okay, so this is kind of cheating because two of these palettes I got at the end of 2022 when I tried them in the end of 22. And two palettes I got at the end of 2023, I haven't had enough time to play with them to get my thoughts around them. So I've kind of taken those two from last year and put them in the spot of the two from this year, just to get a nice round 10. So I'm going to rank these from 10 to 1, tell you my thoughts on them, why they are where they are, and do I regret purchasing any of them. So number 10, the one I probably don't like. This is kind of upsetting. This is the Pat McGrath Mini Eyeshadow Palette in Sublime Smoke. It looks like this. This is a mini palette from Pat McGrath. This came out the same times as her bronze quad did, and I just thought I'd like this more. And it's not a bad palette in any way. None of these are, oh my goodness, I wish I hadn't bought them. This one, okay, maybe I kind of wish I hadn't bought it because it's just mediocre. For the, thankfully I bought the mint, this is tiny. This is literally smaller than the palm of my hand, tiny. And I have small hands. But it's just very blasé. It's pretty. And it makes a pretty eye look, but it just isn't wowing me. And Pat McGrath, I think, should wow me. I think it was only like $30, and I'll use it, but I don't know how long it will stay in my collection. Another one where I'm not sure how long it will stay in my collection is the Natasha Denona Mini Starlet palette. And if you saw my declutter, I think I even said the only reason I'm keeping this palette is for Nude Mauve and Galaxia. This eye look duo is what I want. Since that, I've gone to purchase the full-size Star palette. And guess what? It has Galaxia in it. The special shade that really kept me wanting this palette, I now have in a full-size palette, which has more tones that I really like. So the big thing with this one for me was that it looked quite cool. And the two outer mattes are quite cool. But particularly Rhea is so warm copper. This is not a shade I wear because it is so warm. So it's not a shadow I use. And in a 5 pan, I now have the shade I love in that palette in a bigger pan. So I don't think I will be repurchasing it. However, as I say that, the My Dream Mini has just been sneak peeked and it looks cool. So we'll see if it is actually cool toned. Number 8. Essence Nothing Compares to Nude. This is the $4 palette I purchased the same time I purchased the Pat McGrath, and honestly I think it's pretty on par quality wise, which is why the Pat McGrath is lower. This just gives a really beautiful nude eye, which you would expect from the name Nothing Compares to Nude. The mattes are both quite light, so you can't get a lot of depth, but for an everyday look, that's okay for me. So I've got a matte to set my lid and then a transition shade. Fantastic. This middle shade here, All the Flowers, is the one I wouldn't use because it is a deep shimmer, but it's the kind of shimmer you could probably deepen up the outer corner with. But to me, it's too dark in this palette. I use the other 3 shimmers and it's fantastic. And for $4, It's about on par quality with the Pat McGrath, and that is why it is higher. Palette number 7 is the M Cosmetics Divine Skies eyeshadow palette in Rodin. Another really nice neutral palette. This is ranked higher because it gives me more dimension. I really like this Muse shade in particular. It's the little bit more sparkly. The Whisper shade is quite sheer, and then you've got something quite deep and bronzy in Masterpiece. But the mattes are really beautiful as well. Again, just a really nice neutral eyeshadow palette, but this one just has a little bit more pow, particularly with that Muse shade, and then the deeper mattes to work with. Number 6. This is purely a color story thing. Like, I really like the formula in this palette, but it's just not a color story I'll reach for regularly, and I knew that when I purchased it, but I still did. And that is the Vive 90s palette. It is super cool and smoky. And I can get some really gorgeous looks out of this even day to day, particularly with the shades Acid Wash and Dial Up with Phase in the crease. It's great. I love it. This half of the palette is just quite deep for me to use on an everyday basis and quite cool, and that's fine. It's really nice to have this kind of palette in my collection. I wish the pans were a little bit smaller because it is quite large and it's not something I'll reach for every day. And I really like the formula. It's just the color story is not an everyday color story. I knew that going into it though. I still purchased it knowing that, but that's why it's lower. Like, the formula's great. Top 5. Number 5, Anastasia Sultry. This is kind of similar vibes to, similar kind of ways, reasoning to Vive. I can get a little bit more every day. Like, this bottom row is literally like done. Every day could wear that. These 5 are a little bit too deep for every day, but still great colors to have. I really love the formula on this. I do like this formula more than the Vive. I like the shimmers a little bit more. And I'm really glad I picked this up. I missed the Sultry originally and was really upset about it. So I'm glad I picked this one up. Coming in at number 4 is the first of our end of last year palettes. And that is the Patrick Ta, oh my goodness, can you see the mess? Major Dimension Volume 2 palette. This was my birthday palette from last year, I believe. And it looks like this. I love the color story in this. It is so pretty. The mauvey pinks are fantastic. But it's not a palette I can wear every day. Shocking. My everyday kind of look is this quad here. Again, leaving more than half of the palette to be not something I can wear every day, which is fine. The shimmers in this really are outstanding. I was tossing up between the volume 1 or the volume 2, but these 3 shimmers in particular, so what are they? Crush, Amour, and Devotion are, no, they're the mattes. Lust, Romance, and Adore. So these 3 here, I should swatch some of this, are phenomenal. Phenomenal shimmers. The sparkliness is just fantastic. Like, so pretty. I don't wear the other 2 shimmers. They're too dark for most of my looks, but the mattes are amazing. I could do a full matte look with this and be super happy. I love this palette. Number 3. Does using my singles as a palette count as cheating? These are my Odin's Eye singles, and they are phenomenal. They are a variety of rich metallics. Most of mine are the metallic formula. I only have 2 of the duochromes, and that's this one and this one, which is, let me get my palette, Lola and Maya. So Lola and Maya are my 2 duochromes. The rest of these are metallics. And there's just such a variety. My most used shade is Nora, because it is the one that is the most neutral. But I love the color variety in here. I love the opacity, the shine on these. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. But obviously it's not a one and done palette for me. I do need to bring in mattes, which is why it is only ranked 3rd. Number 2. This is going on holidays with me very soon. Natasha Denona Glam Face and Eye Palette. I love the blush, I love the highlight, I love the eyeshadows. Their metallics are the sparkly metallic, which I'm so excited to try more of in the I Need a Nude palette. The mattes, the Natasha Denona mattes, I love that blend beautifully. It is so easy to work with this palette, so easy to travel with it. Let me swatch these ones. The outer corner shade is a little bit warm, but it's not terrible because I can cool it down with this one here. It's just, don't have to think. I don't have to think when I have that palette, and it always produces a fantastic look. So you're going, Hannah, I thought that you had 2 palettes from last year. I do. The second slightly cheating palette is my number 1, and it is the Littlemissartsie Nearly Natural palette. This is the palette for a neutral lover who loves sparkle. Are there shades in here I can't use on an everyday basis? Yes. Am I someone who wears sparkle on an everyday basis? Yes. My kind of my go-to look is usually Barely There or Simplicity in the crease, with either Second Skin, Nearly Natural on the lid, and Naked Eye highlighting. Sorry, not Naked Skin, Nude. Let me just swatch those 5 for you because, like, they will explain. Oh, and Unveiled. Let's do Unveiled as well as my kind of top ones. So we've got the 2 mattes up top and then my top 4 shimmers here. They, as you can see, they're just so shiny, so reflective, and they sing on the eyes, and they blend beautifully, and they wear so well, and they're sparkle I can wear to work, and it'd be totally fine. And I love them. I love the Littlemissartsie formula. I'm really upset that I missed out on getting the Fairy Lights palette. I unfortunately was umming and ahhing because I'd bought so many eyeshadows, and I missed out. And I'm really sad about it because it looks phenomenal. But those are the 10 palettes-ish that I tried in 2023 and my ranking of them. I know it's short. I know a lot of people try a whole lot more eyeshadows, but this is not my job. This is just something I love to do on the side. And as I said, there's nothing I really regret. Now that I have the Star palette, I definitely don't need the Mini Starlet, and for the price I'm kind of disappointed in Pat McGrath, but otherwise everything's a fine palette. There's nothing that's terrible. I do my research when I buy my makeup. I try not to spend money on things that are obviously not going to work for me. So there's nothing terrible, and that's great. I'm really glad that there's nothing terrible that I've wasted my money on. But there's things I enjoy more than others. There's things I reach for more than others. And yes, these are all neutral eyeshadow palettes. That's just what I wear on an everyday basis, so that's what I buy. Let me know, what palettes have you tried this year? What are your thoughts on them? I'd love to know. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe to stay tuned for more. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.